So are you good with money or bad with money? I mean, that it's kind of a question that most of us could answer, right? We know if we're good or bad with money, but do we know the reasons why? What makes you good with money? What makes you terrible with money? So many times I talk to people and they're like, "Yeah, Brad, but I'm not as good with money as you are." And I'm like, "All right, well, what do I do differently than you do?" And they have no freaking idea. They're kind of like, or I ask people simple questions about money and they have no idea what I'm even talking about and why that's important to know when thinking about personal finance. So in this video, I want to talk about 8 things that you should identify to know if you are good or bad with money. I think the first one is the most obvious, and that's to have some sort of secure income coming in every single month. We know that our income is our greatest tool for building wealth. You essentially have an infinite amount of money that you can make. Where on the other side, there's only so much money you could save and not spend. So you have to know how much money you make. And I'm not talking about like I make $80,000 per year, because if you saw my video about your real salary, you know that how much money you make per year doesn't necessarily mean how much money you make. I think you should really know I bring in X amount of dollars after tax every single month. That's kind of like the baseline of where you need to start. And so many people don't even know how much money they make every month. The next cliche one is know how much you spend. All right. Are you making a budget? The amount of people that I talk to that say, like, how do you know when you could retire? Or what do you mean by your FI number? And I'm like, well, pretty much just take your yearly expenses. And they're like, my yearly expenses, how the heck am I supposed to know that? And I say, you don't know how much money you spend every single month? No idea. And to no fault of their own, before I started looking into personal finance and taking care of my own situation, I used to have no idea where my money went. That's kind of what led me to my personal finance journey. I sat down and was like, where the heck did all my money go? You need to set a budget. And in the beginning, this could be monthly. It could even be weekly if you're really starting to, focus in and change your life. Right now, for me, I budget quarterly. I just finished my first quarter report on my spending versus my income. And I used to make a lot of videos like that. If you're curious what my Q1 budget and financial report look like for my family, just leave in the comments below. I'll make that video. That's no problem. But you should know how much money is going out, just as importantly as knowing how much money is coming in. You should know what your basic utilities cost. You should know about how much money you spend every single month on food, on gas, things like that. It allows you to predict for the future. You should be able to pay all of your bills on the first of the month. If you are good with money, you pay your bills with money that was made, not money that you need to make. You know what I'm saying? So like when I budget for the first of the month, I don't say to myself, well, I'll pay this bill with the money that I'm going to get paid on the 15th of the month. No, the money I make this month is for next month's bills. So try and get to that position where on the first of the month, you have enough money saved that you could pay off all your bills if you needed to right then and there. Pay your bills with money made, not money that you're gonna make. Because if something happens and you lose your job, you're not gonna make that money and those bills still need to get paid. The third way to identify if you're good with money is, are you paying down your consumer debts as a first priority? Are you not putting the cart before the horse? It gets very, very easy to keep up with the Joneses on both sides, the spending side and the investment side. I know that when I was getting debt free, I started following personal finance channels all over YouTube, and they were dividend investing and they were growing Roth IRAs, and I felt like I was missing out. Pump the brakes a little bit. It's okay. Because I think all of the financial success that I'm having right now is 100% contributed to the fact that I got rid of my debt first. I got excited about investing. Yes, we're all going to do that. But please make paying off your consumer debt your first priority. Even low interest debt, I'm still going to argue to pay that off. Giving a bank 1% is still 1% of the money that you're not going to make. And when it comes to investing versus paying off debt, I think there's a lot of people right now that are seeing that if you invested money a little while ago, it's not what it was worth then. But if you get rid of your debt, that is a guaranteed way to grow your net worth. So if you want to be good with money, pay off your debts as a first priority. Once you've paid off your debts, the next thing you need to identify when it comes to being good or bad with money is, do you have some sort of emergency savings in cash? I've talked at length about emergency funds and Capital One and sinking funds. It's so important. And this happens even while you're paying off debt. Now, we can argue how much money does one need for an emergency fund while paying off debt. That's really personal. It's up to you. How old are you? How secure is your job? What do your monthly bills look like? You need to figure out that number over time. You don't need to figure it out the first month, but you need to figure that out. Once you get out of debt, you want to start to raise that amount of cash up as much as possible. And the closer you get to retirement, the more money that you want to have saved in cash to prevent against volatility like right now. Right? If you're in a retirement year right now, things are a little stressful with this dip in the market. But if you have a year's worth of cash saved up, instead of selling off stocks at a low price right now and selling off your investments, you can use some of that emergency fund in cash up to 1 year's expenses until the market rebounds a little bit. So it's super important, guys. Have a little bit of cash. Right now, personally, for me at my age, I keep 10% of my net worth in cash. And that's how I feel comfortable right now. And every single year, I'm going to raise that percentage of cash until I get to retirement, where hopefully I'll have, like I said, about a year's worth of living expenses saved in cash, keeping up with inflation. Right now, I think interest is 1.6 in my Capital One, and that will be okay with me. On another side of savings is another way to identify if you are good with money. Can you save up for things that you want over time and pay cash for them? Can you buy things with delayed gratification? Can you save up for things that you want and get them without going into debt? Without saying, I want that now. I want that now. Can you save up for big purchases? Do you have that discipline? You know you're going to probably have to buy a house one day. You're probably going to get married one day. You're going to buy a car one day. Those are 3 expenses that you can start saving for now. If you are a 16-year-old girl, you can start saving up for your wedding right now. And then one day, if you don't get married, great, you have a ton of money. But you need to be able to save up money long term. And it's as simple as identifying when you might want to buy something, figuring out about how much it's going to cost, and divide it by the amount of months until you get there. Simple as that. If you have to save $12 by next year, you need to save $1 a month. When you break it down into these simple increments, it makes life a lot easier. And it goes back to knowing how much money you make and how much money you spend. Then you'll know how much money you have left over to save. So often I hear about personal finance being this life of deprivation, that you don't get to buy the things that you want. Trust me, I have all the things I want. My friends would probably consider myself to have a lot of things that they want, or toys, this, that, and the other thing. But I save up for them. I save long term. Sometimes it takes me a year to save up for things. If I want a really, really nice bicycle that nobody would ever pay for, I just put $100 a month for a year and then I buy that bicycle. It's no big deal. So it's okay to buy things. Just buy them with the cash that you saved up for. That makes 5 tips, 3 more tips to go. The next one is also a piece of saving. And are you planning for retirement, right? We're going to be saving up for things that we want, like cars and weddings and houses and things like that. But you also have to be saving for your future. One day you want to stop working and you want to be able to have an income. All right, so we start with our investing, and I've made a ton of videos. I'll link some down in the description below about simple investing tips that you could do right now if you know nothing about investing. Everything from just starting with your employee match on your 401k, all the way up to index funds. There's so much to learn, but that's great. But you should be investing just a little bit and start saving for retirement. People that are good with money, save for retirement. People that are not good with money work until their later years because they never learned how powerful it was just to put a little bit of money aside every single month to save for retirement. The next one I probably could have put a little bit higher on the list, but I know it's a little bit dependent on, do you have somebody else in your life? But if you are good with money, you are able to communicate money with the people closest to you, whether that's a spouse, a partner, a roommate, a mom, a dad, a brother, sister. Whoever you do your finances with, you need to be able to communicate with them all the time about money. If you don't want to talk to your spouse about money, that probably means because you're hiding something and deep down inside you have a little bit of a guilty conscience about it, which is okay, but you need to talk to them so you can identify it and work through it together. If you're married, you should probably have the same bank account. If you're married and you can't have the same bank account, you're not good with money. And that just means you don't want to tell your spouse what you're buying and you don't want to know what they're buying. And that's never a good thing long term. If you want to be good with money, be able to sit down with people. And the easiest way to start is with that budget, sit down and start to think about, hey, how much money do we really make and how much money are we going out? And you can't criticize and be like,
You spent this amount of money on Starbucks.
I did that and I didn't get anywhere with my wife. It was a terrible, terrible decision. It was better to identify the things that we were spending money on that was good, spending money on that we could probably not spend money on, and also identifying the things that were valuable to one another. She was spending money on things that I thought were crazy and ridiculous, but they were important to her. So I needed to swallow my pride and say, okay, that's what you spend money on. That's important to you. On the flip side, she doesn't care about bicycles, but she has to be sympathetic to me when I want to save up for a bicycle because it's important to me. So be able to have that communication with your wife or your spouse, your husband, like I said, whoever that is, be able to communicate and be able to communicate the things that are valuable to you and why. Don't just say, I want Starbucks. Say, I like going into Starbucks every single day. I like the community. I like when the barista says hello to me and knows my name. Those are important things to me in the morning. And it'd be hard for your spouse to argue against you wanting those things that are important to you. And finally, number 8, keep learning about money, man. I've been doing this now in this personal finance thing for about 3 years, and it's incredible to me the things that I still don't know, the things I don't completely understand, and I'm a lifelong learner, so I actually love it. But don't get too far ahead of yourself. Just learn as you go. Learn for right now and maybe a little bit ahead. If you're just getting out of debt, learn the best way that you can get out of debt, and then maybe think about what that next step is going to be, right? Don't say to yourself, I have all this debt and I want to be a millionaire by 30. That's putting the cart before the horse, right? Think about, I have all this debt, I'm going to get out of debt. That should be your goal. You have $100,000 in debt, your goal is not to become a millionaire. Your goal is to get out of debt. If you have $100,000 worth of debt and you want to buy a house, saving for that house is not a priority. Getting out of debt is. Pay off debt as your number one priority. So just keep learning, read books, get people's opinions, and this will lead you to an open mind. If you just watch my channel and just take my advice, I'll tell you, your personal finance journey will probably be off somewhere because your personal situation is different than mine. And it's the same as if you follow DRAM. If you follow Dave Ramsey to a T, that's not your plan. That's Dave Ramsey's plan. And although that can help you, it's not going to be the best plan for you. So watch Dave Ramsey, watch me, watch Kelly from Freedom in a Budget, watch JJ Buckner, watch all these people that are everywhere, and then make your own opinions for what works best for you. In the description below in the comments, I'm going to leave a bunch of videos to help you with some of the things that I was talking about today. If you got some great value out of this content, please give the video a thumbs up. It tells YouTube that it was some good content that other people might want to watch. And until I see you on the next one, stay positive, always work really, really hard, and be kind to others. I hope you have yourself an amazing day and an even better tomorrow.